This is Ellie. Today I'll be talking about school lunches, history, and future. Every school day at every school in the nation, students file into crooked, noisy lines to grab a plate on which to load things like pizza, chicken, apples, bread, whatever their school happens to be serving that day. But I realized I didn't have any clue how the food got there. I mean, obviously the school bought the food, but when did they decide to buy school lunches? Did it happen overnight? As it turns out, school lunch was years in the making, or implementing. It doesn't take years to make it or anything. The story of school lunch begins in the early 1900s. Once upon a time, America was flourishing with cities booming. As the cities boomed, so were their schools, and a few wealthy private establishments were interested in donating lunches to the growing academies. This was the beginning of one of the first school lunch programs to be established in our nation. A few years later, the Great Depression hit, and child hunger became a major concern. As the nation struggled out of this depression, they made sure to pass new laws and legislation that would provide school lunch. These laws not only provided food to America's hungry schoolchildren, it provided work for jobless women and youth. By 1937, 15 states had passed laws allowing school boards to oversee lunch, with 4 states even going so far as to provide free or reduced lunches for poor students. As World War II took the nation by storm, the school program briefly came to a standstill, but continued full force after the war's end. In 1946, the National School Lunch Act was passed, promising to provide, quote, comprehensive legislation for aid in general to the states in the operation of school lunch programs as permanent and integral parts of their school systems. This permanentization continued to grow into the 1960s until school lunches became the common, shared reality of elementary and high school students alike, and it's continued happily ever after in modern times. The end. But not really. School lunches have continued on to modern times, but not so much the happily ever after. You can see this from the interview we had with my mom.
Well, I started school in 1962.
She goes on to describe some of the items on the lunch menu in her junior high.
What I really loved was there was this fast food line where you could just go order something. It was already made, and they had these burritos that were deep fried. So there were refried beans inside and a little bit of cheese wrapped in a white flour tortilla, deep fried. I think it cost 25 or 50 cents, which seemed like a pretty good deal. I was pretty filled, and you could get all the ketchup you wanted.
But the real reason she wanted school lunch wasn't the actual lunch, but the dessert that a few extra cents would buy.
They had these amazing, amazing cookies. They were better than homemade cookies. There were snickerdoodles and chocolate cookies the size of my hand. And if you paid 5 cents extra, you could get one of those cookies. And they were crusty, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside. And they had been rolled in sugar so you could see the kind of sparkly glitter from the sugar. And they would wrap it in parchment paper that was crinkly. It was this kind of tactile experience. Those cookies. That's why I wanted school lunch.
An interview with Mrs. Belknap shows another example of school lunch money used for the delicious treats being sold on site at school.
45 cents for lunch, if we did lunch. But we also had a little stand open in the mornings that would sell like a donut and hot chocolate. And after school, there was one that sold like soda and candy bars. So I figured out that they also had at lunchtime, they would sell like a la carte items. So I figured out if I spent 25 cents for a hamburger and 5 cents for a soda at lunch, that would leave me 5 cents for a hot chocolate and 10 cents for a donut in the morning, or 10 cents for a candy bar and 5 cents for a soda after lunch. After school.
The not-so-healthy lunch became an issue gaining increasing attention that reached its high in the 1980s when it was revealed that the USDA had approved school lunch cuts that would treat ketchup as a vegetable. The public didn't react well to this.
Well, when I heard about ketchup being counted as a vegetable, I was very indignant. It was clearly aimed at saving a lot of money. I was very irritated at the administration. In fact, it might be about that time that I changed from being a political conservative to start thinking about becoming a liberal.
The incident served as an awakening call to many parents over the food that was being served to their children. The lunches themselves were unhealthy, and the things that their children could buy with an extra nickel were even more so.
Well, there was this place in high school. It was kind of like a store, and kids would be selling stuff, and you could buy any kind of junk food that you wanted there. You could buy chips and candy, and there were these girls who would like buy candy bars every single day, and they never gained weight. It just seemed so unfair.
In response, the fast food options in schools were limited, and ketchup was no longer approved as a vegetable. However, school lunches themselves remained largely unhealthy, and certain sugary things, such as chocolate milk, remained part of the menu. In elementary school, we would normally get meat and rice with some canned fruits on the side. And then there was a chocolate milk, yummy and the perfect thing to drink before birthing contests. Within the time of my school years, a major health movement has swept across our nation. Activists are arguing that school lunch needs to be healthier, that it and the unhealthy food we're getting at home is majorly contributing to the 1/3 of our child and teen population obese. Think of Jamie Oliver, Alice Waters, Michelle Obama. All have been fighting for healthy school lunches. In 2010, Michelle Obama got the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act through with a mission to prevent both hunger and obesity through school lunches. Greek yogurt is being considered for a portion of the school lunch menu. You look around on the TV, in magazines, on the computer. Everywhere, healthy and balanced meals are being advocated. And you can even see it in our own lunch. We have our own salad bar, plus apples and oranges, and even a water bottle. Our main dishes may still not be the healthiest, and it's true we still have chocolate milk, but nobody says changes have to be overnight.